I don't think this was said out there, but VOTE is a grassroots organization founded and run by formerly incarcerated people. So all of you that raise your hands, these are the type of guys and women that founded and run this organization. Now we do have non-incarcerated people too on staff, okay, so keep that in mind. So we build power, look up there, through community organizing, policy advocacy, and civic engagement. And all through this presentation, you're going to hear a lot about civic engagement, okay? We are dedicated, please underscore that word, dedicated to restoring the full human and civil rights of those most impacted by the criminal injustice system. And how many of you can attest to the system being unjust, right? Yeah, all of us. It's unjust, and we know it is. We wear the scars of the injustice on our bodies, on our mind. And lastly, together, we have the experience, we have the expertise, and we have the power to improve public safety in Louisiana and beyond without relying on mass incarceration. And we do. We have shown the experts that, right? We've shown the courts that every day. We've shown the people that make the laws there in Baton Rouge that we can improve public safety, right? Because of our lived experience, especially for all of you that raise your hands, as formerly incarcerated people, you got a lot of lived experience. How many of you can attest to that, don't you? Yeah, you have a lot of lived experience. Just look at what we're doing right now. I spoke with this brother right here earlier. What'd you say your name is? Kane? Don. And what do you say you do? Radio personnel. That's a formerly incarcerated guy. Now he's a radio personnel. You see what I'm saying? We got a lot of lived experience, y'all. A lot. So, moving right along. Welcome and introduction. Now, you know we already did that, right? So that means we can continue. The importance of civic engagement and voter registration among formerly incarcerated people. Restoration of rights. I had my rights restored. I had my rights restored through Act 636, something that broke forth for and got signed into law. Now I'm able to vote. And I'm telling y'all, when that got to that point, and I went to my PO and I said, hey, the Department of Correction gave me this certificate, that's what they call it, right? That you got to present to them to show that you had never been in the system, you haven't gone back into the system to prove that you are now eligible to vote, right? This guy didn't believe me, but I brought the certificate. I brought it in black and white and said, this is come from the Department of Correction. So I actually see a supervisor. What I'm saying is to show you how difficult it is when you're trying to exercise a right, which should be a human right, right? So he didn't believe me. I actually see a supervisor. When he went and told the supervisor that I'd like to speak to him, the supervisor said, bring the guy in. when I went into the room, he had asked me, what am I requesting? I said, I'm requesting a letter to show that I haven't been convicted or gone back into the criminal justice system. So I want that letter that the Department of Corrections has issued to all of you, statewide, all the parole officers and stuff. The guy just went on the computer, printed the letter out, and gave it to me. But the PO officer gave me a hard time trying to get that letter. That wasn't his job. But what I'm trying to show you, the obstacles they put in our way, right, to prevent us from making progress. If I can say that like that, to prevent us from making progress. I got my letter, y'all. So what I'm saying is restoration of rights. See, when I got that letter, the very first election was Governor Bill Edwards was running for a second term. That was my first time voting in my lifetime. The second time for Governor Bill Edwards. I already knew what he was doing. I already knew the type of legislation and stuff he was signing into law. I already knew that he had to give the parole board, the pardon board, the green light to let these men and women out of prison, right? And everything that he possibly could do within his tenure, he was doing it. So I couldn't wait to get the polls. So I pulled that lever on Governor Bill Edwards, right? The importance of civic engagement and voter registration among formerly incarcerated people. Policy influence. Policy influence. I am now able to influence policies that not only affect me, but affect all of us in this room, affect our families, and affect our communities. That's what that does. That's what that does right there, the importance of it, right? So never downplay that. It's very important. Community empowerment, right? As an organizer, and trust when I tell y'all that, becoming an organizer, I didn't know anything about organizing. But in prison, I was organizing. I used to sit around on the big yard in a group with several other men talking about not just educating ourselves, learning about our history, learning why these systems impact us the way they impact us. And we were making trips to the library, getting various materials and stuff like that. So in a small sense, I was organizing, but I didn't even know I was organizing. But when I officially got the job, did I know how to organize? I did not. It's a process. I'm telling y'all, but guess what? It's really a great journey to be on, because you're making changes, not just for yourself, but for your community. For people in your community, you're making changes, right? Things that affect them, affect their way of living, right? Oh man, it's a wonderful journey to be on. Reintegration. I'm restored to the community. I'm restored to my family. I'm restored in the sense to community members. I have met so many people now on this journey as an organizer, because organizers meet people where they are. No matter what your condition or what your situation, we come to you and say, we can change this. We can do something about this. How many of you know that? How many of you in here in this room right now are organizers? How many of you had the opportunity to organize? Come on, y'all, raise them hands. Don't be afraid. Look around. Look at the people that already have experience with organizing is about. Representation. We now have representation, y'all. We're not that silent voice that you couldn't hear when we were in prison, right? Now we can speak for ourselves. That's what I want to say. We can answer for ourselves, right? You don't have to have someone advocating for you now. We can do that ourselves. Legal and social change. We are making changes legally, and we are making changes socially. Again, in our own lives, in our community, and among our community members. But can we do that by ourselves? No, we can't. You heard that out there in the big room. We cannot do this work by ourselves, y'all. We need the community. And all of us, we have come from different parts of this state. is, in the largest sense, a community. And if I can do certain things myself, just think of how many things that we can all do together. Think of the impact we can all have if we all do it together. We can have a huge impact, y'all. And we're going to bring out some scenarios of things that has transpired that's going to show you what we can do when we do it collectively, when we do it together. Let's move on. The story of self becomes the story of us. And we have a gentleman here who I just spoke about. His name is T. Wynn from North Louisiana, Shreveport. Come on, T. Wynn. He's going to give us an example of the story of self, his own story. T. Wynn, welcome, please.
How everybody doing? All right. So here's the story of self. My name is Terrence Wynn. I was born October the 19th, 1973 in the city of Shreveport. My parents are Dorothy Wynn and Sam Dean. Today is my oldest brother's birthday. He's been dead for 37 years. That's just on the surface who I am. I'm also a juvenile, formerly incarcerated juvenile. I went to prison at the age of 16, and I did 30 years and 7 months. While in prison, I actually went to prison when it was extremely rough. I was a 17-year-old kid, and I went to what was considered the bloodiest penitentiary in America. And so I had a lot of things threw at me at the age of 17 because I was a kid, and I was going into a system of barbarianism where guys saw a kid as a girl, and they tried to make you into that girl that they envisioned. So at that point, going into prison, you don't have a gun, so you have to get a knife, or you have to get some locks and a sock. You have to defend yourself because there's bigger guys coming at you. Because you're a kid, you are really a kid. And I was the youngest person in Angola. So I had to defend myself, and I defended myself. But during the time of defending myself, I decided that I would not become the people that I was having to confront. I never wanted to be like those guys, because those guys allowed their humanity to be stripped from them. And I refused to allow my humanity to be stripped from me. I always wanted to have some form of human decency, so that'll set me apart from everybody. So from a 17-year-old kid, when I went into prison, I got into school, because I was already in school when I got incarcerated. So I wanted to be a rebel because I started reading books about being black, books about being a black man in America, books about our struggle. So I started understanding more so why I had become who I became and why we were becoming the people that other people wanted us to be, while we was demonized. So I studied, and within 6 months, I received my GED. The quickest anybody had ever received a GED going through prison. And so the rebelliousness came from me not wanting to go to work in the fields, because I had, I'm a kid straight out of high school, straight into this prison system, and now you put me in a cotton field, and I refuse to pick cotton. So that's me being a rebel, not going to prison, me not going into the field, not accepting that part of the reality that I had to face for life. So I was like, if I'm here for life, I'm never going to pick cotton, so you'll never say that about me. So little did I know, looking back, that was preparing me for who I have become now in society. So I just kept studying. So now, older people that had way more maturity and understanding of life was telling me, hey young man, if you want to go home, you got to study the law. because the law put you in prison. So the only thing that'll get you out of prison is law. So I started studying law, and I started learning law. So one of the very first things I did, organizing, we was going in the field, and it was like probably about 110 degrees, and we walked for like miles to go to the front gate. So the time we made it there, we had to do one cut, and it was time to come back. So we got a chance to drink water from them, and then we got to come back miles. It's 110 degrees. So we walking back. So all of the lines, because I was in the cell block, the working cell blocks at that time, all of the lines at the gate. So everybody waiting to get in the gate. So it's like 5 other lines. So we waited. So the field foreman said, don't put your tools down. Just because he made a bet with another free man. That's what we call security, free men. And not knowing that was a slave mentality, how we speak it. But they had another free man bet, I bet you gonna make them keep their tools up. So he came and said, man, y'all keep y'all tools up. So I said, look, y'all, I ain't finna be no fool. I said, it's hot. We just walk, everybody else got their tools down. I said, man, we're gonna look stupid holding our tools up. So I said, I'm putting my tool down. So I put mine down. So everybody started putting their tools down. One dude didn't put his tool down. I said, no, don't never say nothing else to me, man. So the next day, we go in the field, all of the trucks come. So they come like me, Woods, rest in peace, and the guy named Ellie Ray, they locked us up and sent us all to the dungeon, and we all went to extended lockdown for that. And they used it against me to try to stop me from coming home. So all these things prepare me for who I am, for who I came out of prison to be. I came home from prison at the age of 46, July the 1st, 2020, thanks to Henry Montgomery. And that led me to organizing and founding my own organization, which is PIPES. And PIPES stands for Priorities, Intentions, and Practical Exchanges. And my time is real short, but it was things while I was in prison that I really can't get to, but I can say this. Norris set a standard for guys like me while I was in prison. Norris was always home. So he didn't have to do no gangster stuff to survive. It was through intelligence. And that's the guy that I kind of like emulated. Norris was the guy in prison. They had a football team called the Raiders. And the Raiders was winning championship after championship after championship. No other football team had done that. So Norris was tackling with players. So he was getting the best players and bringing them to the show, to the team. But he was throwing banquets for them, having them dressing real well. And he was teaching them how to conduct themselves openly, how to talk to people, how to do law. It was just things he was raising the standards. And so these are the kind of people that, I really wanted to be like, because he was recognized throughout the prison. The warden wanted to talk to him. So, I'm not living like that. I was living bad and like doing other things, but things like that prepared me to come home, to do what I'm doing. And that journey has led me to speaking before the United Nations twice. I've just spoken before the Senate. And I represent Vote in Northern Louisiana through my organization. So thank y'all.
And now I introduce to you Consuelo Skins.
All right. Let's wake up. I know y'all just finished eating and all that good stuff, but wake up in here. So, what T. Wynn just shared, everybody in Vote has a story, right? A lot of us, as they said, are formerly incarcerated. I'm formerly incarcerated. I spent 22 years in prison. Been home almost 8 years. And what a ride it has been. But I would like for you guys to Stand up if you have ever registered to vote. Stand up. Woo. Woo. Stand up if you are currently registered to vote. Stand up if you got registered while on probation or parole since 2019. Stand up if you have ever cast a ballot. Stand up if you have never missed an election. Stand up if you have been to a legislative hearing at a state house or city hall. Stand up if you have testified at a legislative hearing. That's some brave soldiers right there. Stand up if you have contacted a politician. Yes. Stand up if you have had a conversation with a politician. Stand up if you have volunteered with a political campaign. Stand up if you have donated to a political campaign. I see right now we got some soldiers up in here. We got some folks who are woke and who are willing to do the necessary work that needs to be done to continue to wake that sleeping giant, right? Congratulations to y'all. I say congratulations to y'all for being able to stand up on a lot of these things, being registered voters and voting. A lot of people get registered to vote, but they don't vote. But y'all vote. And that's the most important thing. So, I'm tired of hearing myself talk. Y'all probably tired of hearing me too. So I want to know what's been going on in your area, in your cities, in your regions, in your towns. And somebody said corruption, that's everywhere. Who in here is from Lafayette area? Oh, we in here deep. Shreveport, Lake Charles. Oh, hey y'all. Y'all in here deep. So I want to hear what's going on in you guys' areas that need urgent changes. Anybody want to speak to something?
Let me just start off and say in my area of Lake Charles, there used to be 4 whites on the city council and 3 blacks. Now it's 4 blacks on city council and 3 whites, and we still can't get anywhere because they stuck in time and they don't realize that voting and encouraging people to get up and vote and going where the people at. I don't care if that man, excuse the expression, has snot on his hand. You still want him to go take that finger and press that button and vote. You don't care if that person is out there and he or she may be drug addicted, as long as she got a line to walk in and register to vote or him to vote. Press that button, because that finger right here, that index finger, it has power. That voice, it has tremendous power. And when we're at home in Lake Charles and all the corruption that is there, because it is there, there's no fairness there. You can tell by the communities. You know when you get to the poor community, because they're gonna always make it look blatant, so that they can always continue to get monies off the backs of the black community, black and brown, if you want to say it like that. And to make sure that once they get that, they put just a little for pacification, and then they take it over on the other side. So when they drew the lines in the district, they made sure that in their area, those lines was drawn to favor them. But when in the black community, jamming them up so small to put it, you know, in perfect harmony where you can understand it. And if this whole row of people is in that particular vicinity to vote, a district to vote, and we are all running for the same seat, guess what? All we doing is seat hopping from place to place. So that's one of the things that's happening in Lake Charles. Very corrupt, very no equality. I'll put it like that.
All right. Donovan?
In Iberia Parish, New Iberia, where I'm from, we have a gross misuse of minority grants. You have, like for impoverished communities, grants would go to those people who are criminally inclined, like myself and different other people. And politicians and pastors, they get together clandestinely and they plan against impoverished or marginalized communities, and they take these minority grants and they use them for their own purposes, and they put it mainly in white communities, or they take it and put it to private use. And that's one of the big issues in New Iberia that we really need to shed light on. They got a book called Burden of Truth by Robert Bethel Carrier. Everybody need to get that book. That book is exposing everything that's going on in Iberia Parish, and that's one of the main things. And that's why we need people to stand up and vote who are informed, make informed choices in voting, and get people in office who reflect our values. We did that with the Power Coalition, right? Amen.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Who else have some issues in their area?
Ty Johnson. I'm from Natchitoches, Louisiana, Natchitoches Parish. Man, I don't know where to start with the issues. A lot of our people are still, the Willie Lynch syndrome is full autopilot at this point. They no longer have to implement the things that they did then because our people are stuck, they're fighting against one another. We've had the chance to have our very first African-American mayor that we've ever had. He's in his second term now, but this time it was a real struggle to get him in because, of course, they do what they normally do. Got a couple more opponents that should have been on that side to get in, but we work. The biggest thing is, man, just getting more of these blue shirts down there and getting more people active, because if you know about Natchez, we have a university there, which means if we can start at these collegiate level lines and high schools going into adulthood, that's where we can make the biggest change, because they talk a lot about this new generation, but the positive and the negative to it is this generation is fearless, which means whichever direction they go non-stop. So let's try to deter them to go to the right side.
All right. So that was Lake Charles, New Iberia, Natchitoches, Lake Charles.
Well, my name's Paul Gary. I'm from the most devastating city on the planet. With COVID, the storms, they left us to fend for ourselves. That's just one issue. And the governor failed us. Well, the governor, local, all the way to the White House failed. That was John Trump was in there at the time. But the other thing is, our education system, we under consent decree. And we got a problem with the education side. DBE policy, too. Y'all know what that DBE policy, now Shreveport, I heard y'all getting like 35%. They're not even practicing Lake Charles. We not, some places got city parish. We still separate with city and parish. Now, as far as the parish, they don't even have a DBE policy in place at all. The city, we had it, but nobody enforcing from our local elected officials. And like Deborah said, we got food. That's over 106 years. We ain't never been running nothing in Lake Charles until we got them folk do the drawing of the line. But it should have happened in 2012. And then it set us up for the mayors and possibly a fifth. We're right now, but it didn't happen. And you know why? We presented a citizen plan. We had the legal, we had the justice department, but they failed. They had 3 to 4 at that time. All we needed was one. We couldn't get one minority representation to support the city plan. Guess what happened? That year came in, they took Section 5 out. The Supreme Court gutted us. So they set us back 160 years. Now, we just got them now, from 4 seats. But now, you know, the mayors and municipalities come up in the first spring. That's the fastest election they got in the state, the municipal. And guess what? They haven't done a dang on thing these 4 years with them 4 votes. And it's possible we could lose them coming around the next cycle. Because the way they strategically setting it down, they got, where they also got, they you know, what they call it, when they go in and price out the community. Gentrification. We got that going on. They stovepiping. They putting all the Section 8s in our district, drawing them out the other district, so they weakening them over there. Then we got about 10,000 people missing from the storm. So we vulnerable as hell. We could go back and both in the district I live in could be, you know, European representation like it used to be. Then we got a school board. We got $6 million missing on the bond issue. Ain't nobody asked. We got 4 of them on the board. They ain't saying a dang old thing. So my key is this. You know when they say you're on the job and you leave the job and you're on the job, you stuff for time? Well, we might not can't get them on criminally, but we can sue them civilly, get our money back. They ain't doing that, sue they behind. I bet you they change that dynamics on their council. Because they there to do a job. If they're not producing nothing, guess what? Soon we take them to civil court and get our money back from them. And that'll make it take, no, it's another way of holding them. Oh, the other thing I want to add, y'all say sleeping giant. I've been saying this for the last 8 to 10 years. The Rip Van Winder syndrome, that's what it got with our people. We all know that story. Rip Van Winkle, he went into the tree and he slept till he was 80 years old. Only thing he kept me the good Lord. That's it. He's the devil on him. But guess what? He went to sleep. We just time to wake that giant up. And we can do it. And that's something I'm proud of y'all doing. I think I can organize the whole damn state. I've been talking about this for 15 years, brother. Ain't nobody been listening. But I tell you another thing, the church got a network across and they ain't been using it right. They've been having it for years. The Baptist Association and all this. We got to get a new generation now. And we need them young folks, man. I see a few of them in there, but we need a lot more. That's the great divide we got in our community with the young folks. We tired at night because we do our civil rights. And every rights around the world, they didn't win it till them young folks is involved. And that's our only salvation through them. Hell, the devil scared the hell out of them. But on that note, I'm going to shut up. I take a little too much time.
Thank you. Oh, I got Shreveport. Hold up. Nah, Shreveport. Y'all got issues up there. T-Ware, what y'all got going on?
Yeah, we got a lot going on. I mean, a lot. We still in slavery in Shreveport. I mean, people just don't want to say that, but Shreveport, yeah, we got the Sambo syndrome. But a big issue that we got, and I'm sure that every other city and every other parish has this. A lot of kids are seeing murders out, and they traumatized by it. And we just go on with it like nothing has happened. But when a white kid sees a murder, they're gonna give them all type of attention. So up there, we got our organization is finna start doing this. We finna push for them to come with some type of resolution to make it mandatory that if a kid under the age of 17 sees a murder, he has to go to therapy because that trauma is really doing a lot to the kids because now kids be so much of zombies. Like when you talk to a kid that's 14, 15, you either murder somebody, you be asking why, you be like, man, I saw my homeboy got killed, so I'm gonna shoot anything coming. That's trauma. And we don't pay attention to it until these guys have committed 3 to 4 murders. And then we wanna talk about it. So we gotta get ahead of that. So that's a big issue that we really need to go through in Shreveport.
Ooh, Shreveport. What's that, Lake Charles?
Exactly. Hello, my name is Lois Booker Malvo. I live in Lake Charles, Louisiana, born and raised. In our city, when it's time to vote on renewal tax, we have no notice at all. They do it in the middle of the year, where we're not paying attention or they don't give us new information. And it winds up that they get what they want. They tax us. And like it was said earlier, it's all to make a fool out of us and take the tax dollars to the other side of the city. And we got to do something about that. That is not American way. We are American citizens, and we are very worthy of equality. We deserve it, and we're gonna get it.
I'm gonna take one more. I got one back over here. Khadijah.
Yes, I wanted to say that the judicial system is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. I was at the federal courthouse in Lafayette where a white male had stole $1,870,000. The judge, Judge Hike, he came in and he testified for the white family, saying that, telling the other judge, oh, please forgive him, and, he just made a mistake. From that hearing, from that trial, they gave that white man 18 months. 18 months in the federal courthouse for stealing $1,870,000. Then they had the audacity where they take and they seal the case. So if I had not been there, or if I had not known that this is what was going on, but simultaneously we have our little 11-year-old child, Milan, who was found guilty of obstruction of justice. They made her plead guilty, 11 years old. Anytime that would have been a white child, you wouldn't have seen Jack anything. Then, part of the stipulation, she had to testify against her brother, who is about 15 years of age. So I'm just saying this, that we're not doing enough in this corrupt judicial system, particularly when it comes down to black and white. We're not doing enough. We're not getting the word out. The attorney that represented Milan is from Baton Rouge. His name is Haley, and at the same time, when you hear his name, we should either be spitting on it or doing something, because it's his lack of professionalism that have her there. That's what I want to say.
Oh, and that's the book,
Burden of Truth is the book. So it looks like from Shreveport to Lake Charles to Alexandria, Lafayette, we have a lot of issues going on. There's a lot of issues going on throughout this whole state that need to be addressed. From the judicial system to the elections, to districts, things going on in different districts. It's a lot. And these are just some examples of things. The criminal justice system needs to be reformed. We kind of touched on some of that. Reentry services and support, they're lacking. I know for sure here in Alexandria, was talking with a guy, and there's just nothing here. Voting rights and civic engagement, like it was saying about T. Wynn, how he shared his story and how hard it was for him to get registered to vote. And they did everything they could to distract him and discourage him from getting registered. So these are just some examples of things that are all around the state that need some urgent attention. And the only way that this can be done is through people like you that's sitting right here, that's paying attention to these things that are going on throughout this state. That's the only way these issues can and will be addressed, is when people actually stand up and say something about it. Because if we continue to sit back and just let them do whatever they want to do, they'll do that. My mom always tell me, people only do to you what you allow them to do to you. And it's the same with these politicians, elected officials. It's the same thing. They do what we allow them to do. And we have to change that. We have to hold them accountable.
Let's not be known as a group that meet to meet.
Yep.
When there are major issues throughout Louisiana, it's enough of us that we probably can take a day off from work. Like that little girl's child that she was just talking about, 13-year-old. We did a march. But it was very few of us that came out to support her cause.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure everybody in Louisiana heard about the trial. If Farrakhan could call 1,000 men from all across the United States, a 1,000,000-man march, why can't we get together when we have pending issues that's, you know, holding us down or sending us, causing us incarceration on non-guilty, on a non-guilty offense? When the word get out, we text, phone, write letters or whatever. So and so gone before the system on such and such a date. We need to show up and show out.
That's right.
When it's a party, we show up.
Yes.
When it's a party, we dress up.
Yes.
It don't take much encouraging for us to get there. Why is it so hard?
Black Friday.
When it's something that really, really matters, something that's important. Now I want to bring up Ms. Ilona, who's going to share with us on how do we organize and mobilize towards these changes that we say we want to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I feel like we got a lot of people in here who are already organizers, and you actually know the answer to this question. Because I hear a lot of issues, right, around gentrification, still living in slavery, reallocating our resources away from our community to people who look more like me. And I also hear a lot of really good ideas. Let's see them. Let's get our information out. Let's rally. And so I think you guys actually already know the answer to some of these questions. So our slide up here says, my favorite part of the slide is the activate. I've been hearing a lot, so as a director of organizing, I hear a lot about changing the laws, I hear a lot about policy. But what's the most important thing when you're trying to organize? Where are my organizers? Ms. Connie, come on, I know y'all know the answer. What's the most important thing when you're organizing? Sorry, I left tab, is it? Say again. Connect with the people, which is what? Building relationships. Building relationships. I find, I came and did some work in Alexandria, I came up to Monroe, and also just generally, everywhere I go, I find we're in a moment right now in the United States where we cannot connect with one another. We're too afraid to do it. There's something not right. We want to talk about all the problems, we're going to come with a bunch of ideas. We don't want to talk about anything that touches the heart. I don't know if that's COVID, I don't know if that's social media, I don't know what the issue is. It was just politics that we're so divided, we're afraid to say what's wrong. But if we do not share our stories, and our stories are really about the why do we do this work, right? There's the experience of going into incarceration. My son's father was incarcerated for 3 years for stealing a whole lot of less money than the $1.8 million, and that was really rough for us. It was shameful, it was embarrassing. He had to live in fear for the 3 years he was under supervision. That Judge Pittman was going to lock him up, telling me every day, here are my car keys, I might not be coming back. That was hard. It wasn't a long period of incarceration, but it was enough. That's actually not why I do this work. I do this work because somebody I loved when I was a child was devalued, dehumanized, thought of nothing, and died really young. And so for me, when I went into law school and I saw folks of color, 100% of color in prison, I saw beautiful people who were smart, they were intelligent, they were funny, they had ideas, but they were actually incarcerated and thought of as of no value. So that's why I do this work. I don't want anybody to ever feel like you do not have value, that your voice doesn't matter. And that's what our communities feel. It's what I hear all the time. So my two favorite pieces are to activate from the heart. We gotta share our why this is important. And it doesn't have to be about incarceration. It can be, I hear Miss Khadija, a lot of passion about the little girl in New Iberia who got sentenced. As a juvenile public defender, I'm furious with that whole entire sentencing. That didn't need to be that way. Right, the community tried to wrap around it, we should do more. We should be sharing our why, we should be sharing why these things are important to us so that we can get to the last section, which is inspired. Because you understand what the issues are, you know how to change them, we just have to get other people to connect with us in the heart. So if I'm talking to somebody who's not impacted or somebody who's impacted, they might tell me something that as a mom, I'm like, wow, you touched me right here in this heart. So we have to be brave to do that because it's not easy. It's not easy to share why this is important to me because why? I'm becoming vulnerable, right? Miss Connie's shaking her head. She's been an organizer as long as I've been alive practically. And so once we touch people in the heart, we need to get together because we want to know who's going to cross the street with us, right? Every time I hear Marcus, I'm going to come with you. I'm going to be with the Lafayette chapter. I'm going to be with Miss Connie and Lake Charles and all these beautiful Lake Charles people I see. I'm going to follow T. Wynn in Shreveport because I connected in the heart. Because then we can collaborate, and it's through collaborating and sharing our experiences and our thought process, right? The more diverse we are in our groups and sharing ideas, it's not just what I think, it's what you think, it's what you think. It's what you think is a gentleman who's been telling everybody forever about Rip Van Winkle. So here we are, because that's what's going to empower us. Once we have a conversation and get educated, you can't take that away. You heard Donald say, I know I have a right to vote. And everybody else was telling him, no, you don't. No, you don't. And he stuck to his guns because he knew he was right. He had that education, he had that piece of paper, he knew what his right was. So he was able to stand up because he was what? Empowered. And the more people we can get together, we're going to participate together so we can inspire more people and share our stories with more people and collaborate with other people. Every single one of you in this room is connected. You're the center of your own snowflake, connected to other people. So he can even just get your family. I gave up on mine. They're on some other rabbit hole, but I'm not going to convince them. I love them, but they're actually not my people. Y'all my people. Next slide. Who's doing slides? Okay, great. So what is civic engagement? We're talking a lot about voting. Donald's talking about being an organizer. All the organizers in this room, Ms. Connie, everybody else, we know how hard it is to get people to register to vote and to actually get and vote. What's the number one thing they say when you talk about voting? Doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. What else? They're going to do what they want to do anyway, right? And so our slide says civic engagement is the active participation of individuals in their lives, communities, activities, voting. What does that really mean to you? What's it about? Why do we vote? Right, to create change. So you gotta have that hope, you have to believe, because sometimes, even when we're fighting like hell and we lose, we've actually become stronger as individuals. We've become stronger as a family. And so I'm really excited for what comes after this conference, because we want to be in Lake Charles, we want to be in Shreveport, we want to be here in Alec, we want to be in Monroe, we want to be everywhere. And I don't care if it's only like 2 people that we find, it takes 2 people to start sharing, to collaborate and participate. Because when we come together, we can create a change. And even if that change means we lose, We've become stronger as individuals, we've become stronger as a family, and we're gonna keep on going. Because you can see it every single day. The conservatives and the right and the people who don't think we should be in this space have been doing it for years, for decades. They've been having this conversation, and we kind of got to give it to them because they are kicking our butt right now. So there's a lot that we can do together. Next slide. And the significance of civic engagement and voting, we all know that, right? We need to be in a space where our communities can become vulnerable and have hope and say, I want healthy communities. I want access to food in my neighborhood. I want my children to be able to go to a good school. I want my community to be safe. None of us actually want to be unsafe. We want to be happy, healthy, and whole. And when we come together and we share that information, right, our voices, anybody who's gone through this process, whether you've been incarcerated or not, that felony conviction destroys your life, right? We're tearing apart families. The trauma that Donald talked about of incarceration and T-Win, everybody knows what that's like, right? And so those voices closer to the problem, closest to the solution. We know what the problems are, so we're the best people to speak about it. And nobody can say what our experience is and isn't. So that voice has got to be heard. Social and economic development of communities, like I said, we want our communities to be safe, happy, and whole. We don't want food deserts. We don't want bad streets. We don't want houses that are falling apart because we're overtaxed and can't take care of it. And elected officials need to be held accountable. So there's voting, and then there's holding people accountable. Those are two different things. Once that person gets into office, it might be like, yeah, candidate won. That candidate's gonna kind of go do whatever they wanna do, unless you're actively calling and saying, hey, this is Connie in Lake Charles, remember we had voted for you. Lafayette, you just got in mayor. And I was excited she got elected, because that means Lafayette came together and did that work. The bigger step was, how do you make sure that the mayor is actually in the community that came out and showed up for her on the regular, not just when it's re-election time, but that's on us. We have to build that relationship with our elected officials. We need to tell them, I like you, but you're doing wrong over here, and this is how I feel as a voter, because my vote is my power in this situation. It's something you need to get re-elected. And the last thing is empowering individuals. Let's go back. By giving them a sense of agency and opportunity. Because it feels good. Even if you don't get your way, you got it off your chest, you said what you need to say, you probably inspired somebody else and you don't even know it. So I know you guys can do it. This is a beautiful room. I'm looking forward to kind of what the next steps are wherever you're from in this region. So thank you.